On Saturday, April 25th, Trump canceled the Pakistan envoy trip, citing an inadequate Iranian proposal after months of ceasefire negotiations. The talks didn't collapse over territory or ideology, they collapsed over money, specifically over who controls it. Sanctions are not economic policy, they are monetary warfare, the deliberate weaponization of dollar access to coerce political compliance. Iran has lived under layered U.S. sanctions since 1979, with swift exclusion formalized in 2012. The mechanism is simple: no dollars, no global trade. Naval blockades enforce the physical layer. Sanctions enforce the financial layer. Together they construct a cage, not from steel, but from monetary architecture. Any nation that settles trade in dollars must route through a system Washington controls. That control is the point. Here is what gets missed. Iran has not been cut off from oil revenue because it lacks oil. It has been cut off because the pipes that move value internationally are denominated in a currency its adversary issues. Energy is real. The dollar settlement layer is political. Bitcoin settles this distinction precisely. A barrel of oil has mass, chemical composition, and combustion value, none of which requires US approval. Bitcoin transactions have cryptographic finality and no issuer. The settlement layer between the oil and the payment is now ungoverned. This is not theoretical. The US Treasury has repeatedly acknowledged cryptocurrency as a sanctions evasion risk in official guidance. And since 2018, when Trump reimposed sanctions after exiting the JCPOA, Iranian entities have used cryptocurrency to move value across borders that SWIFT could not cross. Treasury's own OFAC advisories have flagged virtual currency as an active vector for circumventing dollar-denominated financial infrastructure. The objection raised in policy circles is traceability, that Bitcoin's public ledger makes it a poor tool for evasion. This objection misunderstands the architecture. Traceability is a surveillance tool for after-the-fact investigation. It does not prevent the transaction. It cannot block the block. Contrast this with SWIFT exclusion, which is preventive. The transaction never initiates. Bitcoin's transparent ledger is, paradoxically, less restrictive than SWIFT's permissioned rails because no human decision is required to process the payment. The network does not ask for authorization. The deeper structural point is this: monetary sanctions derive their coercive power from monetary monopoly. The dollar's role as the global reserve currency is not a natural phenomenon. It was constructed at Bretton Woods in 1944 and reinforced by the petrodollar arrangement of 1974. The cage was built deliberately. What Bretton Woods created, a sufficiently decentralized monetary network, can dissolve. Not through political negotiation, Iran has been negotiating since 1979, but through architectural exit. You cannot sanction a transaction that requires no intermediary's permission to execute. This is why the Iran situation is not primarily a diplomatic problem. Diplomacy operates inside the monetary system's rules. Every negotiation over sanctions, relief is a negotiation over access to dollar infrastructure, which means it is a negotiation where Washington always controls the terms. Bitcoin does not negotiate, it settles. The naval blockade dimension adds a physical layer the monetary argument must acknowledge honestly. Blockades restrict physical commodity flows. Oil tankers, grain shipments, manufactured goods. Bitcoin does not move oil. No monetary technology resolves the physical interdiction problem directly. What Bitcoin resolves is the financial layer above it: the settlement, the payment, the stored value. A sanctioned nation that holds Bitcoin holds an asset no executive order can freeze and no naval vessel can intercept. The physical goods problem remains. The monetary sovereignty problem does not. That distinction matters for what comes next. As US-Iran tensions continue their cyclical escalation, and the April 25th cancellation suggests the current cycle is far from resolved, the incentive for any excluded nation to build parallel monetary infrastructure grows with each sanction renewal. This is the slow structural argument that does not appear in headlines. Sanctions work as long as dollar infrastructure is the only infrastructure. Every year that Bitcoin's liquidity deepens, every year that Lightning Network capacity grows, every year that Bitcoin-denominated trade expands, The coercive leverage of dollar exclusion diminishes by a measurable increment. Monetary warfare has a shelf life. The weapon works only as long as the target has no exit. The exit now exists. Open source, borderless, running on 50,000 nodes across every jurisdiction on Earth. The question is not whether excluded nations will use it. They already are. The question is at what scale the coercive calculus breaks. The Iran negotiations will continue, stall, collapse, and restart, as they have since 1979. But underneath that diplomatic surface, a different negotiation is already concluded, the one between a monetary weapon and the first monetary technology it cannot reach. If this episode made you think differently, subscribe. New episodes every week. And if you want to go deeper, there's more waiting for you. This is not a channel about price, it's a channel about civilization.